from $15 an hour to over $100,000 per year as a remote front-end developer. Today, I'm going to be talking about why front-end is the fastest, it is the best, it is the most slept-on opportunity for anybody trying to start a remote tech career. Anybody that's trying to make six figures, anybody that's trying to break in. I'm going to talk to you about my experience breaking into tech. I'm going to talk to you about why I think front-end is the absolute best opportunity for you. So stay tuned. Speaking from experience here, if you don't know me, my name is Jake. I'm an ex-Amazon engineer, and I'm creating these videos for you to share exactly what did work, what didn't work, what I'm actively doing to earn over $100,000 a year as a remote front-end developer. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. All right, so let me give you a quick flashback to kind of how this all started, how this came about, and where I started with this. So you can kind of get an idea if this is you, if you're kind of thinking about getting into tech, about learning how to code, or maybe you're already starting to code. Let me talk to you real quick about my experience. So I was first introduced to coding in high school, and I thought it was just a fun class, okay? It was a basic intro to web development course. At no point did I think this could be a career. At no point did I think you could make obscene money. Not obscene, but like very respectable amount of money. And at no point was I really taking this serious, right? I was introduced to, HTML and CSS, making basic websites. I thought it was just like a cool little toy, a cool little skill, and quite frankly, I needed it to graduate. So, this in my mind was not a career option, right? I thought it was fun. I thought it was a game. I truly, when I first started coding, it was so addicting getting the visual feedback of what it was I was building. It felt like I was playing a game. And mind you, right, at that age, maybe not so much in high school, but a little before high school and middle school, it's like I would sit there and play video games for 12 hours a day, for 16 hours a day. From the second I woke up till the second I went to bed, I would sit there and play video games. And for the first time, when I was first introduced to coding, it kind of felt like I was playing that video game again, right? You build something real quick and you see it update on the screen, and you kind of get that dopamine reward cycle of like, wow, I built this is good, this matches, this is what I was trying to do. And it's very quick feedback loop. And even still today, I find it addicting. I still enjoy coding because it's very addictive. It has the same reward mechanism as, say, playing a video game, okay? So I kind of felt that natural pull to HTML, CSS, but I had no idea it was a career path. And so when I got to college, I was undecided, but I was so curious about tech, right? I knew I wanted to probably do some kind of engineering or some kind of math and science thing, but I didn't know what I wanted to be, quite frankly. And if I'm being completely honest, I chose coding, I chose computer science I was hungover one morning. I was just like, screw it. You know what? I've heard great things. Let's try this. Let's do this. And it ended up being one of the best decisions I ever made. And mind you, if you're watching this video and you didn't study computer science, or if you're not in school and maybe you're a little older and you're wondering how you can get into tech, you don't need a computer science degree to learn this stuff. You don't need a computer science degree to go and actually do the job. Okay. So, maybe I'll talk a little bit about today, but I've definitely talked about in other videos. It's like to actually learn the skills needed to do on the job, you don't need more than, say, a few months of your time, a few months of focused, dedicated study with somebody who's laid out something for you, a learning path that's kind of cut out the fluff for you and just boiled it down to the things you actually need. That is more than enough to actually go and, get your first internship, to go and prove that, you can do an entry-level role. And by the way, I put together some free resources at frontendfuture.com. There's a link below in the description. Go ahead and go get it. If this is something you're on the fence about and you're like, oh, I may try this, I may do it later, go ahead and go to frontendfuture.com, click the link below, and you can go and get the free resources I've made for you there. But moving on here, how this changed my career path, okay? So as a freshman in college, the most I had ever worked for, I did some tutoring here and there, but the most I had ever worked for, I picked up trash. I made $9 an hour as a referee. Like, I did some very basic, some menial work that's, all respect to people that do those careers. I wanted to earn more. I wanted to do more. I wanted to make a lot of money and travel and do the things that, everybody talks about wanting to do, and like, just life experience. I just wanted life experience, right? I wanted more for myself, okay? And very quickly after starting to study coding, starting to code a little bit, the magic started to happen, okay? So I landed my first internship. I was writing some Python, and I was earning about $15 an hour. And so in that internship, I worked for 3 months. So mind you, I had 3 months of experience, and I was earning $15 an hour. And after that, was when I landed a $32 an hour bank internship under a senior engineer. And this ended up being super, super influential for many reasons, right? Two main reasons I can think of. One, I was under a senior engineer who cared, right? And he taught me a lot. He showed me what was possible. He showed me the right way to work, and it really gave me a lot of confidence in my own abilities, but it also made me a much better engineer. And, if you're watching this, maybe that sounds a little boring right now, but it paved the way for much bigger opportunities, which I'll talk about in a second. So that internship with the bank lasted about 5 months, and it made me a lot better. It made me more money than I had ever seen in my life. Okay. So, $32 an hour, if you take that out to a full year's salary, that's the equivalent of 64 grand a year. And now to 18, 19-year-old kid, that was a lot of money. Okay. That was a lot of money. That was more money than I had ever seen in my life. So not only was it changed my life financially immediately, it paved the way to much bigger opportunities. So after I had that experience on my resume, and mind you, that internship was a front-end internship. And that's kind of the point I want to make here is front-end is the quickest path for me to get into tech. It's what enabled me to do these amazing things, to go work for Amazon or whatever. So once I had that experience, I truly believe that experience is what opened the door to Amazon. Okay, so after I worked for the bank, Amazon extended an internship offer where I was earning the equivalent of, I believe it was $60 an hour as an intern. So I had 8 months of experience. A lot of that experience, or most of that experience, was just front end code. I hadn't really written much back end. I hadn't really done much with databases or APIs or things like that. Literally just front end code, and landed an offer from Amazon where I was earning north of 120 grand as an intern, $60 an hour as an intern, right? And when I completed that internship, they extended a return offer for 153 grand, or the equivalent of 153 again. Of course, most of these offers, they come with, a base salary as well as some kind of stock package, and Amazon is no different, but that front-end coding is what ultimately paved the way for that huge opportunity with Amazon, okay? So, that is why I think front-end development is the ultimate beginner's path. And the reason I think that is because of what I talked about earlier. It is so addicting, right? If you played video games, if you played things like, say, RuneScape or, other online computer games or whatever else, like the visual feedback, the short dopamine feedback cycle of writing front-end code is addicting unlike anything else, because as soon as you make changes, you either know if you beat the game, if you won or not, right? And so you're on this constant treadmill of like, hey, go build this, clone this design, do this and this and this. And when it doesn't work at first, there's a little bit of challenge, and then you get a little bit better, and you defeat bigger and bigger bosses where you notice yourself getting better. You notice when you get something right, there's a huge dopamine hit. And it just becomes this ultimate game of like, okay, how can I get better? How can I defeat harder and harder levels? And it's just very addicting. And the reason I like front end over back end is because you can actually see what you're changing. Now back end, obviously you can test your things, but it's mostly, say, text and you're debugging different strings and data structures, things like that. It's a little more abstract. Whereas front ends, if you build something, you can show it to your friends, you can show it to your family, you can show it to, whomever. And so it feels a lot more tangible. Okay. So one of the things that kept me motivated was there's a lot of demand for this. It's not like you're learning some random niche skill. If you go on LinkedIn and search for, front end engineer or front-end developer roles, it's like there's going to be thousands of these things. There's going to be thousands of these things, and the salaries are they're just amazing, especially for somebody that's, maybe you're working in a blue-collar field, maybe you're a teacher, maybe you're an ex-finance guy or whatever, right? It doesn't take long to start earning a very respectable, if not greater salary than you're already earning, okay? And there are tons of these roles out there. There are tons, because this is so needed. Everybody's building a software company, and they need engineers, they need developers to build these things, right? So front-end engineers was so in demand, and that's part of the reason it kept me going. It's like I knew I could earn money, and there were a lot of opportunities, and I knew if I kept my head down, if I kept applying, if I kept working on this, like I could earn a decent amount of money one day, okay? So I truly believe that front-end development is the easiest path into tech while still working full-time. So like, if you're already working right now, you're in a job and you're trying to maybe learn on the side and get into the job, I think front-end is the best because of a couple reasons. One, it's in demand. Two, most other engineers don't really want to do front end because they think it's beneath them or whatever. Because engineers, they have big egos, all right? That's one thing you got to understand is engineers, developers, they have big egos, and a lot of people shy away from front end because it's kind of tricky, right? It can be tedious at times and so on and so forth. And we won't get into the details of that in this video, but all that to say, there's a lot of opportunities, okay? And then the last point I wanted to make is front end development, it is very focused and it's hyper niche down. Like the skills you take on front end, a lot of them are unique to front end and they don't necessarily apply to back end. And what that means is you need a much more narrow skill set. You don't have to go and learn everything under the sun. You don't have to learn database design. You don't have to learn clean API design. You don't have to learn, say, platform infrastructure. All these other things that you have to learn on the back ends, right? Which eventually you probably could and should learn, but you don't need it to get started. And you don't need it to get started in front-end development, especially. So that's why I think it's such a great opportunity specifically to break into tech, okay? And so one of the huge benefits of being a front-end developer is the remote aspect of this, okay? So I've been working as a remote developer for probably the past 5 years now. It is the perfect combo. It's enabled me to do amazing things, and I'm not a super old guy, right? I've only been doing this for a few years. I'm in my 20s, and I've been afforded such, incredible opportunities at my age. I feel insanely grateful because I feel like this just wasn't a thing several years ago, okay? So it's like I've gone to a bunch of places in the United States. I've been to Mexico. I've been to a bunch of countries in Europe now, all because of this job that's enabled me some flexibility. It's enabled me a respectable salary where I have some excess, where I have, the ability to go and spend on experiences and things like that. I'm not in survival mode, right? I've been afforded these, these blessings all because of kind of this one skill here. Right. And so if that's you, if you want more, if you want to travel, if you want to take care of your family or, not have to worry about checking in with a boss, not have to worry about clocking in at so-and-so hour, like it is such an incredible opportunity, specifically front end. Okay. So another less talked about thing and maybe a little less exciting too, or I don't know. It's exciting to me, but this allowed me to focus on business value, not just code. Okay. So something I care about a lot is entrepreneurship, building companies, like doing my own thing on the side, and front-end development allowed me to do this instead of just being a code monkey, right? So instead of just writing somebody else's code all the time, I was able to do things like conversion rate optimization, where I directly impacted a business's top line of revenue, right? So if you don't know what that is, we're not going to get into the details here, but basically, if a business sells, say $100,000 worth of widgets on their website, and you help them sell 2% more by making small changes on the page, small changes on the website, that's conversion rate optimization. And so you can see yourself directly making a business impact, which is very addicting, right? And it benefits you in several ways because all of a sudden, not only do you feel good, but you can apply it to any of your own businesses, those same learnings. But also, if you go to apply to other jobs, they're going to love if you talk about, hey, I built so-and-so feature, it impacted revenue by XYZ%. And as a result, XYZ, right? So front end gave me those opportunities to, you kind of show your code to the world, right? You show your website to the world. And to me, I find a lot of joy and a lot of value in that. All right. So if I were giving myself advice, right? If I were 18 years old again and I didn't know about coding or I didn't know about this whole path, what I would say is think of front end as your gateway to tech freedom. Okay. So odds are you don't want to stay as a strictly front end engineer forever. For a couple of reasons, right? You don't, eventually you want to get better and broaden your skill set if you want to earn more, okay? You can obviously keep your front end skill set and stay there if you just want to stay siloed forever and maybe put a ceiling above your head. But if you want to go and earn more, if you want more opportunities and you just want to level up, eventually your marginal return on getting better at front end is going to cap out and it's better to go a little more broad. But I still believe front end is the absolute best path into tech, all right? So think of it as your gateway into tech, and then once you're there, you can kind of expand and whatever else, okay? So that's the first point there. Second point is front end is in such high demand that this is such a great transition from your current job, okay? So coding was kind of, well, it wasn't the first job I did, but I wasn't necessarily working full-time. I was studying full-time when I made the transition, but it is the easiest to learn outside of work, and that's what I help people do today, okay? So if you're working full-time and you you're a busy adult, maybe you got kids, maybe you got parents to take care of, or you just have other responsibilities, you're an adult. That's why I've built this program. It's called frontendfuture.com. I've made some free resources for you down below in the description. Go ahead and get those, right? If you're working full time, I made these resources with you in mind, understanding that, hey, look, if you're wanting to spend maybe an hour or two or a little less every single day to transition outside of work, to not have to quit your job and move into something else, I built this specifically for you. Okay, so you can do this while you're working your current job, and it's one of the few careers that I truly think that you don't have to give up your current career. You can learn outside of work at your own pace and go ahead and actually break into this career. Okay, so the high demands, right? You can use this to transition from your current job without having to completely restart. Now, the third piece of advice I would give myself is once you start applying to roles, all right, instead of going online through applications, especially if you didn't go to a top school or study computer science or whatever, all you got to do is reach out to those directly making the hiring decisions. What you're kind of looking for is to connect with the entrepreneur, connect with the CEO or someone of a similar stature that understands where you're at, that understands you have hustle, that understands you have grit, and you're doing these things to improve yourself. You're doing these things because you want a better life for yourself, for your kids. If they can respect you, if you can connect with them on a personal level and they respect you, you're going to have much more opportunities than if you're a blank resume in a pile in a stack somewhere. Okay, so the advice I would have given myself is to reach out directly to those who are making hiring decisions. Okay, the hiring manager, the CEO, or whatever else. Okay, so that's kind of my summary of why I think front ends is the fastest path for beginners to break into tech, and some of the advice that I would give myself if I were starting over. Okay, so again, my name is Jake. I built frontendfuture.com as the quickest way for anybody, even those that are working full time, to break into tech in a remote front end role. And I've made free resources for you on that website. There's a link below in the description. Go ahead and click that link. Go ahead and get those resources for yourself. And I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.